What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So last week we had the big story of Microsoft acquiring Activision, and of course led to a bunch of questions. However, one part of the reports around this did talk about a potential large shakeup for basically the biggest franchise in gaming. We're going to talk about that here today. Also, we're going to be going over what looks like an early reveal for a brand new game that's going to be announced here pretty soon for Nintendo that, of course, is leading to all kinds of speculation around the next Nintendo Direct. And we're also going to be talking about Dark Souls with an exploit being discovered for PvP that you're going to want to pay attention to. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. We had talked about previously that there was a project to decompile the original game for the N64 and make it so you can port the game to other platforms like the PC. And according to VGC and exclusive, it looks like a PC port of Ocarina of Time could be getting revealed and released here pretty soon. We can see this over on VGC saying a fully functioning fan-made PC port of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is nearly complete and could be released within weeks. Now, this is from a community of developers dubbed Harbor Masters, and they did talk a bit about some of the enhancements even that you could see from this, but they go on to say we actually started putting down code in the middle of December last year. Currently, all of the game logic runs pretty much flawlessly. We have a few assets that aren't packed correctly in the archive, most specifically skyboxes, and there are still a few graphical errors we are working through. Audio is also not yet decompiled. I'd give it approximately 90%. We've been hoping to be complete by the middle of February and use a month or so until April 1st to refine the game before release. We're hoping to have a public repository available in late February. And with this came a bunch of screenshots that showed the game in widescreen, of course, visuals being much cleaner, and it sounds like the frame rate would be significantly better here. But we saw this with Super Mario 64, and they've done things like put ray tracing into the game. Really, it looks completely different now, and Ocarina of Time would be pretty cool to see as a PC port with all kinds of bells and whistles tacked on. So we'll see what happens as we go along here, because we know how Nintendo gets. The only thing here, though, is when a project like this is decompiled, it's generally done completely legally. So there's not much Nintendo would be able to do other than probably go around and copyright strike different videos showing it off. Also, next month, we have the Steam Deck that should be starting to ship out to pre-order customers there who got in like right away. Otherwise, you might be waiting for like another year for this thing. However, we have had different features revealed as we've gotten closer to its launch, like this one, which sounds extremely convenient if you're going from your Steam Deck to your PC and then back to your Steam Deck. This, as they say here, Steamworks feature update dynamic cloud sync. They say with Dynamic Cloud Sync, Steam will automatically upload all modified save game data to the cloud prior to the device entering sleep mode. Users can then resume their game on any PC, laptop, or other device. Steam will also automatically download any save game changes when users return to their Steam Deck and wake up the device. So this is legitimately a way you can just go from your PC, pick up your Steam Deck, and boom, your save game is there and seamlessly start playing. I mean, we'll see how it is in the real world where people go back and forth and maybe trip up the system in some way, but this is great news for the Steam Deck, especially for someone buying it as like a companion system for a very, very powerful PC. I mean, the Steam Deck just sounds better and better, and at that price point, right at $400 to start with, it looks like a very good value overall, even if you already have a strong PC. So I'm looking forward to these actually getting out there into the hands of consumers and get some more independent reviews around it. Should be interesting. Oh, and we're like 1 month out from Elden Ring. It's getting very exciting, of course, as we get closer to launch, and there are still concerns around the random like last second delay or something, but we have some good news. We can see this post up over on Komatsu. Elden Ring goes gold. This was announced during like a live stream presentation that they had, and they did also talk about a day one patch that is currently in development. So it looks like we are still ready to go here for late February with that release. And they also talked a bit about the length that the game will take to beat. So we can see Elden Ring can be finished in 30 hours, but there are dozens of hours of side content, and that tends to happen with a more open world style game. You can like kind of run through it. Like we talked about Dying Light 2 being like 20 or 25 hours, but they're like, oh yeah, 500 hours to do everything, and that could be legitimately just like walking everywhere. But Elden Ring, from all the preview coverage we've seen, the videos, the gameplay, it looks like it's going to be FromSoft's like big release that they've finally been working up to with all of these other releases. So I'm excited to finally get my hands on this game next month. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Microsoft, Activision, and Call of Duty. Now, of course, the deal is still pending into next year, but it looks like Microsoft is pretty confident that this is going to get done. I mean, they announced it in the first place for just over $68 billion, all cash, and that does include some very large IPs. Of course, Diablo, Overwatch, World of Warcraft, StarCraft, and Call of Duty. And this is where things get a bit interesting because there, of course, was a report we went over from Bloomberg, but there was one part in there that I wanted to have separate because it could really change the way that Call of Duty is perceived and released overall. We can see this, though, over on Bloomberg with that report saying high-level employees at Activision have discussed moving away from the annual release schedule, or according to two people familiar with the discussions, although nothing has been finalized yet. There's a belief among many Call of Duty developers that releasing games at a slower cadence will please players and help bolster the franchise, particularly after the weak launch of last year's Call of Duty Vanguard, which saw a 36% decline from 2020's entry in UK sales charts. The shift may not happen until next year or later, as this year's Call of Duty is expected to redeem the franchise's fortunes. Yeah, I mean, Vanguard, I mentioned, just wasn't that compelling. Like, I played it, I tried it, and I mean, the gunplay and all this stuff is fine. I just didn't feel the need to play it when better shooters were out there. Like Halo Infinite was way more interesting for me to jump into. I know I'm a Halo fan, but still, Call of Duty at least should pull you in a bit, and it just didn't. It felt very forgettable all the way around. And the idea of Call of Duty maybe skipping out on doing yearly releases, I think, is a good idea overall. That's where things start to get a bit iffy, though, because we know Call of Duty commands the top of the sales charts every single year, which means it would probably drive Game Pass subscribers for Microsoft every single year. The only issue we've run into here, and Activision obviously felt this, is they needed all of their studios to basically work on Call of Duty to make that 3-year cycle work, where every year you had one of 3 big developers, big studios, release a Call of Duty game, and you had the smaller studios that would maybe work on a Crash Bandicoot or a Tony Hawk Pro Skater start to help out with running support. And then obviously Call of Duty Warzone didn't make that any easier, as you had Raven basically move to full support for that game. And with Microsoft, the thing that could shake this entire situation up with Call of Duty is Microsoft doesn't really need a Call of Duty game every single year, because then it might end up crowding up some of their other releases. Like, Microsoft could release Call of Duty every October or November, but they may have some other big flagship game that they want to push out there instead. If you look at the sales charts, by the way, for the MPD, which, I mean, that's where Xbox is the most popular, it's in the US, it's Call of Duty Vanguard, and then it's Call of Duty Cold War, the one from the year prior. Like, if Vanguard wasn't there, I feel like the year prior's Call of Duty would just top the MPD sales charts anyway. And the way I look at that is every sale that you would see with Call of Duty, even the older one, may turn into a Game Pass subscriber, which is what Microsoft is really pushing here. So instead, maybe they work to support that previous Call of Duty for 2, even 3 years alongside of Warzone, and have the smaller studios that were working to put out a Call of Duty every single year work on some other stuff. They need variety, as I said, and I think the idea of Call of Duty slowing down their releases would make a release of a Call of Duty game a big deal. It used to be massive. Like when Call of Duty Black Ops 2 came out, that just took over the internet. Of course, Modern Warfare 2 was a really big deal as well, but I think now more than ever is a great time to step back and reevaluate how they are releasing these Call of Duty games, and if we really need one every single year. Next up, let's talk about a brand new Nintendo game that may have been leaked out or hinted at a bit early here. Of course, we have Pokemon Legends Arceus releasing on the Switch at the end of this week. I'm pretty excited after seeing a lot of the preview coverage, and at this point just leaks all over the internet from early copies. But it looks like we could see another game get revealed by Nintendo here pretty soon. Take a look at this. This was a tweet that was put out, and it looks like what they did here was translate from a publication titled Nintendo Dream. Go figure, it's probably about Nintendo games there, but you can see Kirby here, and the translation reads, "New issue will release it on Monday, February 21st, so a month from now. In addition to detailed news about Kirby and the Forgotten Land, we've also included a new game that we didn't expect. I have a feeling that a new title will be announced." And we had some other translations of it trying to kind of read into exactly the tone or the idea of what they were trying to convey here. They say a somewhat crucial line omitted from the translation is, you see it there, sorry if it isn't announced. Hopefully something will be revealed, but there appears to be no guarantee. My reading of it is that it won't necessarily be a Kirby game. Reads like a new title in that series. Technically, the word series isn't mentioned, so a new title for that would be more accurate, but I assume that series is implied. Now I'm gonna go on record here, just put it out there. I think there's gonna be a Nintendo Direct before the end of 2022. Most likely we'll see it in, I'm gonna say, first half of February, after Legends Arceus comes out, after they've put their report out for investors, which is in the first week of February. I think then we'll start to line up a lot of the releases and kind of put their schedule out there with some dates for games that are probably closer than people think. Nintendo, of course, has been doing this where they'll date a game that's like 2 or 3 months out, even reveal and then date it right then and there. And I do think it's possible, yes, there could be some smaller Kirby game, maybe that gets revealed to go alongside of Forgotten Land, because there is an anniversary, of course, for Kirby. So think of something like Super Kirby Clash that was just released as a free-to-play game on the Switch. Sure, maybe something there, maybe a mobile game, maybe just a whole other title. As they say, this isn't necessarily related to Kirby, but obviously a lot of people are going to start with the Nintendo Direct talks here pretty soon. I'm actually surprised we haven't had much talks about it yet, but I don't know, maybe people are just kind of sitting back and waiting for what Nintendo is going to do next. And I'm thinking, like I said, first half of February, I think they'll have their general direct to start setting up the year. Also, we're like 3 weeks into 2022, and there hasn't even been a Nintendo Switch Pro rumor at all, or report. So, you know what? I'm pretty impressed. Next up, let's talk about Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2, and Dark Souls 3, as an exploit that's pretty serious was found for the PvP in the game. We can see this posted up over on Twitter. This was from Scott. It's a screenshot from a Discord that went over an exploit called Remote Code Execution. And what this does is it allows hackers to run arbitrary code on your machine without permission. As they say, this is a serious exploit that can cause lasting damage to your computer and all of its contents. By using this, hackers can take hold of your PC and can essentially do what they want with it. They can brick your computer, they can steal your logins, banking information on your computer, basically anything. They can execute malicious malware. And the weird thing about this is it appears that a person actually alerted Bandai to this whole thing with RCE and even had to go on Twitch to then demonstrate this using like 2 different instances of the game. And then finally, they responded. We could see this tweet from Dark Souls Games saying PvP servers for Dark Souls 3, Dark Souls 2, and Dark Souls Remastered have been temporarily deactivated to allow the team to investigate recent reports of an issue with online services. Servers for Dark Souls will join them shortly. It is strange they didn't take that more seriously when they were alerted to it, but maybe they just blew it off thinking somebody was like trolling them through email or something with the game. It, like I said, took someone demonstrating the exploit for them to act on. At least that's kind of the timeline that we have here. And it is something to think about with some of these games that, yeah, you could have an exploit like that, and then all of a sudden a person could just take over your PC, run malicious code, or even steal information there. It's just odd that it's in such a widely popular game like the Dark Souls series, the whole thing. And here we are now where servers have to be completely shut down so people don't have their computers hijacked. So here's hoping they get this thing resolved quickly and to the point where people can trust that they can log into it, because that's going to be the biggest problem here is, sure, they might fix it, but will people really trust the PvP in some of these Dark Souls games now going forward on PC? And in our last bit of news, let's talk about a new studio that was formed with NetEase called Negoshi Studios. And that might sound familiar because this is actually the creator of Yakuza who went to NetEase, left Sega to form their own studio, and it looks like they brought quite a bit of talent with them. We could see this over on Gematsu. They say NetEase Games has announced the establishment of Nagoshi Studio, a new game development studio headquartered in Shibuya, Tokyo, and led by Yakuza series creator Toshihiro Nagoshi as its president and CEO. The studio will focus on developing high-quality console titles that will be released worldwide. And if you remember, like months ago, he left, I think it was like in October, as pointed out here by Gematsu. And if you look down the list of talent that he's bringing with them, it's a lot of people who worked with him on some of these Yakuza games at Sega. So I am curious what exactly they're going to be making. And I mean, obviously, he did a lot with the Yakuza series. Maybe he got to the point where he's like, you know what? I've done it all with Yakuza. I want to go off with this big check from NetEase and create a studio that can be more creative overall. We can maybe make our own IP that we can then own and continue to build because, I mean, Yakuza is Sega's IP, so that's all I can think about there is it'd be more interesting, and they just feel like things were getting stale and they wanted to break off and do something different. But now the question is, after doing all of that with Yakuza, what do you go off and do? I mean, some of the ideas in that series were just outrageous and just way out there, right? But it also makes you curious, yes, but also excited for what they could come up with all the freedom they have now and NetEase backing them with, well, finances won't be an issue, basically, here. So certainly a studio to keep an eye on as they're going to be working to develop high-quality console games. It's going to be years, I would assume, before we see anything from them, but keep an eye out. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're tailing the poll I posted up yesterday, where I asked, should Call of Duty drop the annual release schedule in favor of a new COD game every 3 years, for example? 95% said yes, I would like to see what else the studios can do. That might just be people who are like, I don't really play Call of Duty. Maybe I did a while ago, but so many Call of Duties came out, they just drove that franchise into the ground. Although it still sells really well. Like a down year for Call of Duty is still the top of the NPD sales charts for the entire year, and it does it in 2 months. But still, I think a lot of people look at that and say, Call of Duty maybe could go on a break, and then we see what these other studios could do. I mean, Toys for Bob, I feel like was on a roll there for a bit. Like the Spyro, the Crash stuff, like they were rolling, and I would have liked to have seen them do a brand new Spyro game, but they got pulled off of that and they had to go work on Call of Duty. If you look at the list of studios that Activision had working on Call of Duty, it's overwhelming. So the idea of them being able to break away and try some more creative things with, who knows, maybe even some of Microsoft's IPs or just some Activision dormant ones that they could repurpose and maybe introduce something brand new here heading into 2024, say, after Microsoft finishes that deal by mid-2023. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Firm saying, I've been wondering when WoW would go free to play. Now I can see how they can get millions of people to get back into the game without going free to play by using Game Pass. That's actually one of the franchises that will be part of this deal that not as many people are talking about, but I think could be a big deal for Microsoft. Yeah, they could just put World of Warcraft into Game Pass and maybe just eliminate the monthly fee and say, well, if you're signed up to Game Pass, you automatically have a subscription to World of Warcraft. But I feel like they would have to at least get that game onto the Xbox, because then they can also get it onto your phone, which sounds weird, but like it's an MMO, it could be streamed, you have to be online anyway, just be more the touchscreen interface. I've seen the touch controls for Dragon Quest XI-S. Buttons are everywhere. I don't even know how you would see what's going on with World of Warcraft if they tried to do touch controls there, but who knows, maybe they'll take a shot at it. But you know what? I could see them maybe injecting a bit of life into World of Warcraft. I remember that game used to be massive. I wouldn't be able to go a day working at any of these different game stores without hearing something with World of Warcraft or selling a time card for the game. And now it just seems like I hear about nothing but New World or Final Fantasy XIV. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, it really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Where's Call of Duty release schedule? Should Microsoft break away from the yearly release and have the other studios do different things? And what about that new Nintendo game that appears to have maybe leaked out a bit early? Are we going to see a direct here in the coming weeks? And then what in the world is Nagoshi Studio going to present to us in a couple of years? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.